absence of the chairman, I'm sure he'll be here shortly, and I don't want to get into Nature's Wilderness too deeply without David, but I'd like to look at the minutes, because we do have a quorum. Sorry not to see more members present. What? I don't know. So, what do you people think who were here at the meeting? I was not here at the last meeting, but I read the minutes for informational purposes.
Do you get a chance to look at them? I can read them. Yeah, as well, because I saw them, but I didn't get a chance to read them. 3 minutes, you said? 3 minutes, yeah. Okay. All right, Baldwin Planning Board meeting minutes, 2/14/2019, call to order, Strong call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Roll call, Matt Sanborn, Nick Lawrence, David Strong, Alexis White Warren, and Jeff Sanborn. Reading of the minutes from the last meeting, Sanborn made a motion that the minutes be approved as submitted. Strong seconded, motion made and seconded. Open business, A was Nature's Wilderness, the table until the next meeting. New business, we went over the FOAA frequently asked questions. Strzok, Ernst, and Sanborn stated they had all thoroughly read the FAQs. Strzok discussed that any substantive info discussed by email needs to be brought to the meeting and included in the minutes. Doug Bowen, next new business, preliminary discussion of potential subdivision on Rocky Down Road. Bought original lot in March of 2007. Sold one 2.5 acre parcel in 12/2018. Wants to sell another lot. Decided that unless he can meet an exemption, his land would technically be a subdivision. Showed him how he can access the information from the town website. Strzok explained that he can either qualify for an exception, or he can pursue becoming a minor subdivision, and the board could walk him through the criteria. Next new business was John Emmons, who's on the agenda but was not present. Last piece, Selectman said that Sue Olafson has been appointed as an alternate, but they are not sure if she has yet been sworn in. A motion to adjourn by Ernst, seconded by Sanborn, was unanimously meeting adjourned at 7:38 p.m.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve minutes. I just get things primed, get the pump primed for you.
I got stuck in my own driveway.
All those in favor of approving the minutes? Minutes are approved.
Can I just show you in my meeting template, this is what it says every time when I leave it.
Okay. I just put target.
Two demerits.
I was going down my driveway. I don't know about you guys, but I have a rut in my driveway. So going down, my back wheel hit the rut. I just went sideways. I was stuck sideways in my driveway. So I shoveled it out. So I apologize.
Here you go.
Anytime.
And you have a copy of this,
Yeah.
which is John's response.
Okay. So there's not a lot going on tonight other than Nature's Wilderness. Why don't we go in reverse order real quick? So who wasn't here last time? Joe. Joe, have you thoroughly reviewed the FAQs regarding the Maine Freedom of Access Act?
Yes, I have.
So we just have 2 more to do till we're all compliant with the FOAA.
Yes.
Discussion of board's role activities at town meeting. So I don't believe we have any items on the agenda this year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I would like somebody to speak, though. It can be me, but I always hate to speak. Well, if I get nominated moderator, I always hate to move out from behind the moderator thing and talk in a different role. But I think we should talk about, I think we should thank Freddie, and I think we should thank Norm,
Yep.
and acknowledge their service to, the board. Maybe Joe, you can reach out to them and find out how long they were on the board. I don't know if you know that off the top of your head.
About 4,000 years to me.
Yeah. Get into the BC age.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it apparently added up to.
But I think we should do that. I imagine there'll be some questions about nature's wilderness, maybe not, you just never know. I think, we should basically say there'll be a public hearing shortly and people should come to that and
Yep.
a site walk. And that the documents are here available if people wanna look at them.
Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
We had talked a couple meetings ago about you and me maybe working on a letter for, it's obviously too late for the warrant.
I think did you guys put something in or did nothing go in? For the planning board yearly review in the warrant? Okay.
There's some money there for you,
Yeah, that's fine.
some extra money.
That's what counts.
Yeah.
No, not a warrant, but just like, how there's a letter from the fire chief and
We had talked about writing one, but that didn't happen.
it's just, we didn't get one in this year, right?
No.
That's fine. We didn't do anything important enough to merit additional printing costs, so.
Save the town money.
Exactly. Anything else that you guys can think of that we may want to consider doing at town meeting?
So I will act as the spokesperson for the planning board as the vice chair.
Fabulous.
That's not a problem. And I will thank Freddie and thank Norm, and, if at that point people do ask questions, I will, I'll answer that in some way, I'll handle it.
Is everybody planning to be there? Not to put you on the spot.
Planning to be there, yeah.
I'm planning, I believe so, yeah.
Okay, if you are, then we'll probably introduce everybody just so people know, because, it's changed a little bit, yeah. Give an extra chance. Didn't know. Wes, do you have a pen for me? A pen, Steve? I got one, too late, I got one from Matthew.
One for writing 88-cent pen.
No, I got $1.25, Dan bought.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So I think that's, I just want to make sure that Norm and, Freddie get acknowledged.
I'll give them their gold watches too.
We may have some questions about the shoreline zoning. You can field those.
We want to mention too at the meeting that we are, I think people kind of know about, we are taping the meeting, so if people are interested.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And should we mention Matt and Sue rejoining, or you're just saying introduce people that are there? Or Matt
If
rejoining?
whoever's there, I think we should introduce, yeah. It's a different board, so, people know who to go to complain to. All right, so that knocks off 2 and 3 before we, jump into nature's wilderness, which should be a little bit of a discussion. Is there, anything else that is on the tap? Okay. So, nature's wilderness. So, just to lay the groundwork, nature's wilderness has submitted a CUP application. We've received it. And, we hired, BJ Feldman to assist us figuring out how to approach and respond and address the conditional use permit application. Does everybody know Lee?
Yeah.
Do you know who we are?
I think I do.
I'm Joe Pierce.
Yes.
Nick Lawrence.
David Strock.
Matt Van Born. Yep. David and Matt are new to the board since I worked with you previously.
David was just absent, he isn't new.
Yeah.
I don't show up.
You were here for some shoreline zoning.
Shoreline zoning,
Right,
I worked with you folks on
And
that.
that, I tell you, I missed a couple meetings, I'm sorry.
So,
Okay, gotcha.
So we hired Lee J. Feldman. Lee reviewed the information and prepared a sort of memo that identified some ideas, concerns, comments that he had, and that was distributed via email couple weeks ago, and then what it looks like is that the applicant provided some responses. So Lee, and we'll make this part of the record. Lee did his memo is dated February 7th, 2019, and the applicant's response, which is on the same letterhead but in red, right? Is that, yeah.
Correct.
Is dated 2/28/19. So, I mean, I guess what I'd be,
And did you send this, Lee? Is this from you?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Well,
So
the one with the
Lee
red
sent
on it
this
is
one.
from John, because John had responded. But
Okay.
the original
You-
memo is
no, but
from
this
me.
one's, I'm just saying, I understand that, but I'm just saying that this one says it's from you on
Yes, it
2/28.
is.
Okay.
That is correct.
So it's accurate when we're putting it in the minutes.
Oh, so this is their response though, so this isn't,
I just wanted to make sure he actually sent it. And they didn't
this
just
one.
add it. Understood, but he also sent this one with the responses. I wanna make sure it's accurate that it's
Oh, did
email
you
from
send,
him.
you sent,
Not John's responses, no, he just.
His email reads that this was sent from you, so I just wanna make sure it's accurate.
no, it's not.
No,
from
it's
you.
not.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to
I
clarify.
hear what you're saying.
Can I borrow your pen for a second and I'll.
Is any of the wording changed other than the responses?
No,
Okay.
we just simply hit
You just-
return
you
and
just-
put a red line
The
in there.
red, the red
and-
type is
just to
your
kinda
response, nothing's
Hear
changed.
the
on it.
discussion, yeah.
Okay, cool. No, I get it. You just.
Honestly,
cut
didn't
paste
realize
in there
that the
and
date
changed the date.
was,
No problem.
a formula.
Just wanted to be accurate.
And then taking it out to the bigger picture, I think where we were at last time with Nature's Wilderness was, that we were walking through the application with the applicant and discussing some of the concerns that we, had as we walked through it. The applicant was taking notes and, at some juncture, once we got through it, I think the applicant proposed to send an updated, new, revised CUP that addressed our concerns, to the extent that they wanted to address them before being considered for a conditional use permit. But that kind of step-by-step thing got interrupted by Lee being hired, which is perfectly okay, interrupted in a good way. I guess, and board, you tell me if this is the wrong approach. I guess I'd be interested in kind of talking to Lee for a second about this project and his perspective of this project and, what we're supposed to be doing. I mean, did you get a copy of this draft conditional use permit that we put together? It was like,
For the applicant?
no, we put it together, it was like a draft.
Right, no, I didn't
Okay,
send it.
that's fine. I mean, my thought was on the end of this process, we would create this rather lengthy document that identifies all the restrictions that we think need to be there that
Right.
isn't in the application itself.
So, what I do, if I may, Mr. Chairman, what I do, because I do this type of work with many of the towns here in New York County, is I do my memos for you regarding the critical review of the project, but then as part of the final approval for you, I do what we call findings of fact. And the findings of fact are based on all of the standards that are part of your conditional use permit requirement. You know, how they meet stormwater, how they meet traffic, how they meet, any of the other standards that you have in your conditional use permit. And so you'll find a fairly lengthy findings of fact when we're done. And it basically talks about, at the beginning of that, it'll talk about every meeting that at least I've been involved with and attended, discussions, when you have a public hearing, when you have a site walk, what the findings, what the information was coming out of that, or any requirements that you asked the applicant to do. And then we'll go down through And as part of your approval, you'll review each one of those standards in the conditional use permit, and I will put a statement to it, how they've met that standard or not met that standard, so that when you're done with that whole thing, that's what you're approving.
And that's somewhat similar to what this is, it's
Yeah.
not exactly that.
Yeah.
We'll get you a copy of that, just so you can see what we put out there
Sure,
as a concept.
sure.
So good, I mean, that's consistent with where I think we've been working towards. What are your thoughts about this project, just as a general proposition? I mean, was there anything extraordinary about this project? Is it kind of par for the course of this type of application, this type of use? I mean, just.
So, I mean, campgrounds, of course, are permitted use or a conditional use in the zone that they're located in. And then it's a matter of really looking at what are those impacts going to be? How are they going to address certain issues? And you'll see in my memo that, for example, one of the bigger ones is that on the main road coming into the campground, they're proposing a compacted gravel. My concern with that is that during the dry part of the season, is there going to be a way to keep that moist because there are a couple of residential homes along there, and so we don't want dust kicking up on a Friday or Saturday when, 100 or so campers are coming in and going out. So there's issues like that I've raised in my memo for you to consider. I've looked at the layouts and some of the things that I'd like to see added to the plan set, for example, is they've shown where the camping area is going to be tent-wise versus motorhome-wise types of units. But I'd like to see a basic layout of where the camper is going to be on the site, where the parking for one car or two cars is going to be, where the hookups are in relation to that, so that we have a better understanding on how each campsite will be laid out. I had questions regarding some
And
of.
we can go through that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the next step, is to go through that.
Absolutely,
So.
yeah. So I mean, in general, campgrounds are conditional use permit. If they can meet all of the standards within the ordinance, then, is it typical? Sure. But it's a matter of meeting all of the standards. It is a fairly large camp facility, and certainly you want to make sure that everything that they're proposing will be adhered to and be met as part of any approvals.
Have you worked with towns on campgrounds before?
Actually, I'm trying to think if I.
Okay, if you have.
Actually, I did. I worked in a fairly large expansion of a campground in Waterboro, right across from Little Austin.
Yeah.
The campground that's right on.
Yep.
So they just did a major, they just got approvals last year for a major expansion of. Theirs was 32 units, but it's up on the hill and they're actually taking a lot of that hill down. So it's a fairly difficult engineered design. So yeah, I mean in this area that's the only one that I've worked on. There have been several others in the region, but I'm not
Okay,
recalling.
that's good.
So why don't we go through what, I mean, does anybody else have any questions to see this up?
No, just if I can interrupt and go back to something that we should have covered before we got into this, and that is that Wes gave us this, and we don't know how to handle it, Nicole and I.
That's for the selectmen, isn't it? Aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
That's Tom Peters, the excavator over there at Wayne Poole's farm, taking down that sand.
Oh, yeah.
So we remember the
But that's their
But
problem.
I think as the
Always Hampton's.
enforcement, as the enforcement arm of the town, I would think that,
We don't enforce.
well, I'm just thinking what happened with Maeda. Maeda was, the selectmen really took over once it turned into enforcement.
So do you want us to put that in their file?
What was this from?
This is the, Route 11,
The bond for the Fuller gravel pit on Route 11, that we requested as a condition of their CUP.
got like a
you wanna
raised
recognize
deal.
that we've got it, I mean, somehow,
I think Debbie ought to have that probably on file.
okay,
What?
Can we give it to these guys?
I made copies of it, and I put it in the property file.
I did it, but I don't know.
It's covered.
so then we'll give this to Debbie?
Well, let's give it to Wes.
I was gonna say, give it to Wes.
I'll give it to her tomorrow morning.
Okay,
Sure.
there you go, you're here tomorrow morning.
Debbie at the end now, we don't want.
Either one of them.
And one of you guys should probably look at that to make sure it's sufficient. I have no knowledge of ponds whatsoever.
Yes.
I have no knowledge, so I don't think we should be the ones to make sure it's legit. Like, you may even send it to David Laurie, just say, is this legit? I know nothing about ponds.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's good. Always good to get stuff off the table.
Otherwise they'll get shoved under here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, disappear.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. So why don't we, Lee, why don't you take us through your memo? And, you know, I think applicants feel free to have a discussion about the items to the extent you responded, and we can kind of figure out what Lee's issue is and what your response is. And I mean, I think we're more gonna listen and.
Well, I do have some comments.
Yeah,
as we go along.
okay, good. All right. So, go forth and conquer, Lee.
All right, so at the beginning of my proposal, I simply lay out what the application is. The applicant seeking a 190 site campground, on approximately 300 plus acres of land off the Brown Road. It seems from the aerial photos that I have seen.
So that first sentence, we already have a question. So,
Sure.
So, there's been this concept so I've always looked at this project as there's a parcel of, there's a piece of property,
Okay.
and so when you
Map 7, lot 22.
when you apply for a conditional use permit application, it applies to the entire property, just not part of it.
Correct.
And so when the applicant the applicant would like to have the conditional use permit and all the restrictions that go with it, only apply to a portion of the entirety of the property. And so we've been going back and forth. They don't want to be restricted outside of what they're calling a development zone.
Okay.
There's some words that.
That's fine.
And I, as a singular voice, not as a voice of the board, have raised concerns about having a development zone within a piece of property. And so when you say it's 300 acres, that means you're looking at the development zone or the entire piece of property?
The entire piece of property.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that, although they probably would have to do it anyway, if there was any additional proposed expansions, that one of the conditions of approval that we would seek is that they would need to come back to this board for any additional proposals that they have on the property, besides the fact that they have to go to, DEP anyway, so they would have to amend any of their permits to DEP as well.
So we should really look at it as the entire property.
Absolutely, with the condition in the end, when we get to that point, that any expansions would require coming back to this board for further review.
Okay.
And that's a normal type of condition on a project of this size.
Okay, I mean, I think they're gonna push back on that, but we'll see how they push back. I mean, you guys, I challenged you to come up with creative solutions to it, so I don't know if you have or not.
Okay, so moving right along.
Sorry,
Sure.
are we still at 190, is that a number that we're?
Yeah.
Because it's come down and down, and I just want to.
As far as I know,
Okay.
I'm looking at, I'm basing this off the information that was
Right,
provided.
no, I just started it a lot higher number, I just, Somebody asked me a question on something.
Okay.
Public, is it 190 or what is it? And I said, well, I think it was 190.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just basically suggest in there that they're in the Resource Protection District, and the R and the RP zones, here in town. It's just a basic exercise of laying the site out and the location out. But then I do get into, in the bold, a number of questions that I had from my cursory review.
Before this,
Yep.
I'm still on that first paragraph.
Yep.
You raised the question of, as part of this matter, it should be understood that if no approvals have been previously granted to run a campground, the existence of what is currently on the site has not been legally permitted under the current zoning ordinance. And we have an issue, or we've had an issue,
Mm-hmm.
because things have been done
Yep.
there that shouldn't have been done,
Right.
and there's a trust issue.
Sure.
There was a foundation poured for a rather large building that the state made them tear out. I understand.
The state did not make us tear that out.
Oh,
I took that out
okay,
to try to appease. I knew he wasn't gonna get anywhere with it. I took that out.
okay. That was taken out.
Okay.
Was built without a permit.
Yep.
Whatever. It's a confusion of misunderstanding and mistrust.
Mm-hmm.
And rectified.
Rectified, I absolutely, I get what you're saying, Gary. Gary's trying to control the situation, and that's difficult
Mm-hmm.
for him. We've been having snowmobile races there. We're told they're gatherings. We've seen on the web, on Facebook, that they were being charged for. There are those of us who think that if you charge for something, you should be covered by a conditional use permit. So, in what you write,
Mm-hmm.
we have to cover gatherings. And gatherings, I think, whether they are charged for or not charged for. One might have a gathering, the sole purpose of which would be for publicity or, some sort of peripheral
Sure.
commercial purpose.
Sure.
It wasn't, and I bring this up because we've had complaints from neighbors, very bitter complaints from neighbors. I'm somewhat of a neighbor. I don't hear it. I mean, I hear it if I want to. When you have the snowmobiles there. And I went out behind my barn and I didn't move, I could hear it. Doesn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
Take my hearing aids out, probably couldn't hear it at all. But it should be addressed. Motorized gatherings, any kind of gatherings, and this is a issue of mistrust.
Sure.
And I put it very firmly in that category of mistrust. And I will bring this up as we go through your objections, some places that other mistrusts have come along.
Okay. So I'm trying to remember, I'm looking at their cover letter, that talks about that I thought there was something in here about the fact that the use of the campground would only be for campers there. So I don't know what I'm hearing, but I'm gonna say I don't know what the issues are now.
Yep.
But once the campground is there, and we can put a condition of approval on it as well, that any activities that occur on the property have to be directly affiliated with those folks that are staying there.
Yep.
And that's stated in their written material that they submitted to you, so they're bound by that as well.
Yeah. It
So-
just makes it hard for me to
Yeah.
believe that it'll be under control then if it's out of control now.
And that, unfortunately, no matter where we are, that becomes an enforcement issue if they don't adhere to the conditions of the approval or any of the written material that they submitted to you. So if they do go beyond that and, you know, they have a snowmobiling event in the winter and no one's camping there, if they haven't indicated in any of their material that they're proposing to have off-season events on the property, then can't have off-season events on the property.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
Core West is gonna go out there, you know, on a snowy, you know, 6 o'clock at night, cold evening and say, hey, you gotta shut this down. So, yeah, I mean, enforcement unfortunately becomes, you know, no matter what the use, no matter where, there's always enforcement issues. But if we have it in writing and we have it as part of the approval, then they can or cannot do whatever is part of that approval.
So maybe you could advise us, as to how to enforce, because enforcement seems to be a problem.
But I don't think this planning board is not an enforcement.
No, we aren't, but how can I vote
Right, no, I
Can I vote
understand
for
what you're saying,
permit if I don't have confidence that it'll be enforced?
I mean, I think one thing that I remember from the application was that it was a seasonal conditional use permit from May till October, or
Right,
whatever
right.
they got. So, I mean, anything that they do outside of those dates, in my mind, they have no permit to do it, especially if they're doing it at a commercial level or something, but I don't think that the planning board, I think that goes on the selectmen and the code enforcement. I mean, it's not really something that we.
This board
I mean, we can
condition
put-
the approval, but after that, it's
We can put extra things in
Yes.
to say you can't race snowmobiles, but whether they,
For example, let me jump in on this. For example, the campground project in Waterboro that we did, because it's an all RV campground facility. There were people there were people on both sides. People that suggested, because Waterboro wants to be a four-season recreational area, that, you know, why don't we allow the campground to be open during the winter? And there were people that said, no, it should not. The owner of the campground chose to say it will only operate to, I think it was the end of October.
Yeah.
And that we will not have any activities on it in the winter. He self-conditioned himself in the public meeting.
and that's pretty much what we've heard from you. You've said that to us.
But
So-
you said that to us, but then the
Right.
actions are different.
Right, I mean, we can't.
That's the problem.
Oh, I agree. I mean, we can say twice in the application, you know, we can say twice, you can't race snowmobiles, but
Well,
they may still race snowmobiles,
Right.
and it's really,
A couple of guys could get together and go up there and want to do that, but if there's
and they're in
I'll call
violation
it
when
a
they do it.
sanctioned event, you know,
Right.
where it's an organized club event
Right.
and people are bringing their machines in and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
then you got an issue.
Oh, yeah, no,
But a
I'm
couple
not
of
saying
people-
it's, I'm not saying it's okay for them to do
Right,
it
right.
if they want, to some degree, I mean,
Exactly.
but what I'm saying is if we could put an exemption in there, they can't do it, that doesn't mean they're not gonna do it. 'Cause-
Correct.
Because of what you said,
Correct.
they've done pretty much whatever they want to so far.
so Matt, what I'm looking for
Yeah.
is what is the legal structure, and how do we look at the legal structure of stopping this? Things happen.
Conditioning them on not being able to do those types of things.
Because the code enforcement officer says, well, all I can do is use the power of persuasion. And
That's not true.
so,
That's not true.
and as I understand, we'd have to go and get an injunction.
Yep.
You know, what are the legal procedures that give me the confidence? I want the confidence.
Yep.
To vote for this project. I'd
Sure.
like to see this project happen.
I mean, the proper process is that if there's something going on, you know, and it's an immediate nature, and you got 200 people out there running snowmobiles at 6 o'clock at night, the best you can hope for is the code officer going out and finding out whoever's running the event and saying, you gotta shut it down. If they choose not to shut it down, you gotta bring the sheriff's department in, or whoever your authority is out here, to shut them down. Especially if we've conditioned the approvals on not being able to do those sorts of things. If it goes beyond that, then yes, you're getting into an ADB appeal, which is basically taking them to court and filing, an injunction against them being able to operate that, and getting the judge to confirm that the approvals that were granted suggest that you can't do it, or say you can't do it, therefore you cannot do it.
So this is the first time I've heard
Mm-hmm,
that in the immediate,
mm-hmm,
the code enforcement officer can call the sheriff.
Yep.
And the sheriff can shut them down.
Sure.
And will shut them down.
I would assume they would, they're gonna go out and say, shut it down.
Good,
guys-
you good?
Not quite.
Okay, why
I
not?
have problems with Cornish. The sheriff will intervene when it's
We're different.
breaking the law, but when it becomes a civil event, they're reluctant to get involved.
Aren't we a different county over here?
Yeah, but, we'll say that again, so, I didn't.
The sheriff's department will get involved if it's breaking the law, but if it's a civil, situation, perhaps
So,
like neighbor against neighbor or
A
something like
civil
that.
event is between two private parties.
But if you're breaking a town ordinance.
Civil
yeah.
event is between two private parties. If you're the municipality and they're breaking, you know, a law or a condition of approval, they have the right to step in. All the time.
At their discretion, I mean, we're talking Cumberland County here, that's
You
what
guys
I'm
good
talking
with
about.
that?
Yeah.
But,
I mean, if we're good with this, I can be good with this. But if this doesn't work, then you'll know my vote is no on the whole
Sure.
thing anyway.
Right. I mean, I guess the other question, the other way to address it, although it's kind of it's separate from this particular issue, is developing or structuring some sort of a mass gathering ordinance. Defining what a mass gathering is, saying you can't do it without coming to the select board for approval, or to the
Yeah.
planning board for approval, requiring, you know, bathroom facilities, which they're gonna have here anyway, but they may be shut down during the winter, because I'm assuming the water is only gonna be a seasonal type of water feed. You know, there are ways to write ordinances against mass gathering as well, which would be townwide, it wouldn't just be on this particular
But
property.
we could, craft the conditions
Mhm.
to this permit,
Mhm.
so we didn't need a mass gathering.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So, are you now good with this?
I'm good with it, and I think I've stated before, my enforcement is when they're breaking the ordinance, to relate that to them and enforce it in a way, say, the ordinance says you cannot do this, stop it, and expect cooperation from them, that they will stop it.
If you didn't get cooperation, what would you do?
I'd have to approach the selectmen and we'd make a decision to make a legal issue out of it.
We wouldn't call this the sheriff's office?
Probably not.
Unless we told them to.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes the same thing as if there was someone, that had a junkyard on their property, and Wes went out and said, you know, you need to clean this up, I'm giving you 48 hours to clean it up, and they don't. It's still the same process that you gotta go through.
They're kind of related, it's not really, but maybe you guys can understand what I'm saying. When we did the gravel pit over on Route 11, there was a big issue with our noise ordinance. Our noise, study, we wanted to study. So, in my mind, this noise study needed to be in the part of the conditional use permit, so that if the neighbor decides, I mean, that's kind of what you're getting at is, the neighbor decides that they don't like the fact that, you know, in middle of January or February, all they can hear is snowmobiles running around back and forth. So as long as it's in the order, as long as it's in the use permit, that they can't do certain things, I mean, we're covered, and we're able to cite, or you're able to cite the ordinance, and then let the selectmen decide where to take it.
So, I mean, this is, you know, ATV races
So we wanted the noise
whatever,
ordinance, we wanted the noise
August.
study in the use permit for the thing, so in case somebody got upset that these are too loud, did you guys do a noise study? That's for him.
So, I mean, this is, to me, this is gonna include talking about other things like fireworks and mountain bikes and.
I guess that, and we could probably have a whole meeting about that, I mean, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what this is going, because I wanna know that we can put these conditions on and that it's going to be upheld.
Oh, yeah, I don't know about the uptown part.
That's at the road.
We can put the conditions in, definitely.
But the possibility is there.
And it all depends on,
Wes is
it all
now
depends on
convinced,
who's on the select board.
Wes is now convinced that,
If it's spelled out in the ordinance or the conditional use permit,
Right, you have a
I
select
usually have
stand.
a pretty good, almost 100%, record of people cooperating.
okay, but you're, and all of you are willing to work through this and enforce. That's what I'm hoping. Until March.
So let's go to the folded question. Number one.
Sure,
This
okay.
is important.
So these are a bunch of questions that, I had raised based on looking at the plan set, that I had to date. And I do not have John's answers, I have not spoken with John, so I don't know what his responses are. You guys have got that and I don't. But the first one,
Do we have extra copy of that?
oh, that's fine for right now.
All right.
Since the site will have a varied type of camping opportunities, it would make sense for planning board to request a conceptual design of each type of site to see where parking will be and where water and sewer electric will be provided to hook into the units, that will require this. So again, I think what I'd like to see is a typical, layout, so if you're looking down at the site, you can see where the unit's gonna be, or the tent's gonna be, where water and sewer, is going to be if they're provided to those particular sites, where electrical, yes, exactly. A design of each type of site. Now, that's not to say that if they're showing it on the plan that you're gonna have water and sewer here, then on every site it's gonna be exactly in that location, but it gives us a sense of how big the site is and how they're going to lay out for use.
And this would answer my concern, how big is a cabin?
Sure, absolutely.
Yep.
Yep.
And the answer is,
So we've already sketched up, ideas to summarize it. We didn't bring any new plans tonight because I didn't want to muddy any waters.
Right.
I think we spent a lot, I mean, I expected this to be a long meeting. I think if we do a lot and we write everything down, so everybody's on the same page at the end of this meeting, then you guys could come back at that point.
Right, that's kind of, I wanted to use this as kind of another.
As long as we don't just talk about it and it just gets, you know.
Yeah, no,
going out
and I
the-
think that's, that's why we're here. So basically, we understand the question and the concern, and, we'll provide typical, details for each type of campsite, and which will describe what utilities will be there, what sort of parking situation there is, we'll show, typical, for example, a typical tent spot, picnic table, fire ring, parking spot. And then, RV position, parking position, electricity, sewer, and water, picnic table, fire ring. And put a typical square foot size for each,
And
dimension.
maybe like, could you draw up like one site and then call this the A site or the number one site, and then all the ones that have that,
and
have an A
what-
on them, and then.
right, so we have
yeah.
4 different types. We basically have a sheet that, with 4 quadrants in it. Each quadrant will have a typical site, detail.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good.
So number 2, because I'm of an equestrian family, it raised my query when they put it in their notes. It says, the applicant mentions in the submittal narrative, campground rules, letter G, that there will be equestrian opportunities in the campground. So, I asked, are there stalls and turnout areas for the horses? And how will manure be stored until it's taken away or trucked away? If the use is not going to occur, then the rules should be updated to reflect that. So if there are going to be equestrian
Yeah,
opportunities,
I said no.
You just have to read the applicant, was
There we go, good. Horses are up.
They want to deal with all that stuff.
I don't mind. I do.
That's gonna be over on Robert's land.
Okay, number 3, the applicant also mentions archery as an activity. Where will the archery facility be located in relation to the campsites, and will it be supervised at all times? I think that's kind of important for us to know, because you don't want someone just going down there and shooting, and kids running around, in an area that's unsupervised or not a controlled archery facility. So if they are going to do that, I'd love to have more information on that.
The answer is,
So, they would like to offer archery. The plan is that that will be a daily scheduled, event that's supervised, with safety officers, and rules to that area. A proper area will be constructed and that we will, I think, ultimately, I think we have to show the layout on the plan.
Yeah,
So we will pick a place that is, we will get a hatched area on the plan that says the archery can be located in this area and nowhere else.
Perfect.
For the firm.
I think that's bold of you to be able to trust to do that. I have a hard time with my grandson around machinery, it's like archery, wow.
We're talking little recurve bows, a lot of campgrounds.
Yeah,
have a lot of
yeah,
places
yeah.
have that.
Yeah.
It could be a multi-purpose site area too. that-
No, I mean,
Your business,
Yeah, right.
I don't care, just.
Yeah, as long as,
Well, there's a ton of day camps that have
Yeah.
archery there. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not like,
That's good.
so on the plan, we could possibly see, okay, this is where the archery slash.
right, we'll show a drawing of a shed.
Whatever you're gonna do,
Everything
I know
goes
that,
up and
yeah.
there'll be a
Plus your pit,
backdrop.
sometimes, yeah.
So are you going to allow people to bring their equipment to shoot?
No, and little Johnny just can't run up on the hill and grab a bow.
Yeah, I assume that.
Okay. Trash receptacle standards. This is not from your ordinance, but it's more of a state type of standard. Suggest you should have, trash receptacle have one within 500 feet of all campsites. Same standard holds true for privy and toilet facilities, realizing that some of the sites, are for self-contained units. Those sites would not apply, but all other tenting sites do apply to this standard. The applicant should provide a plan showing that both of these types of facilities do meet that standard. Basically showing, where the facilities are in relation to the campground. And they've got them on there, but I'd like to see like some sort of a radius or something suggesting that they're within the 500 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so dumpster disclosures will be added, the clubhouse and every, group parking area for tent sites. Trash cans will be outside of each cabin and at every bathhouse. We will provide details of a concrete pad and an enclosure for the dumpster and the trash areas in each spot. And those areas will be, able to be closed up to, keep wildlife out of that.
Okay.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Are there any campground rules about how often those are dumped, or just dealing with bears? I'm just
No, there aren't, unfortunately. I mean, the state says you have to have them, in certain locations or so far apart, but there's nothing.
And are there rules about them being secured for wildlife, or is that just like a recommendation?
Recommendation, yeah. Yeah.
I think you're just taking a chance of somebody getting, I hate to say it, but attacked by a bear, that's kind of on you. If it can be found that you have a pile of trash in the middle of your site.
No, understood. I was just
More
curious
liable.
what the rules are, if that's
Yeah.
something we consider as conditions.
Yeah.
Number
Number 5, the applicant has indicated there would be glamping sites. How do these work regarding the issue relevant number 4, which is the, trash and bathroom facilities? Maybe further definition of glamping can address this issue. To be honest, I've not dealt with glamping, so, to some people it's a glorified tent, and to other people it's going to be something different, so I just was looking for some clarification.
Yeah, so the idea is that it's basically gonna be the cabin area.
Okay.
That's going to be, quote, glamping,
So that equals cabins?
that equals cabin.
Okay.
And I noticed, on the website, the videos, they show like, basically all the appliances, and it's basically, is this gonna, would you consider this to be capable of somebody living in all year round, or is it something that, because I mean, if you watch the video, it kinda looks like, somebody could just stay there all the time, but.
Somebody could live in a van all the time.
No, I guess my point is, we're gonna winterize it or that type of thing, or just something.
Not if we can, not if they say it's only gonna operate till
Exactly,
October.
that was my question, was,
Yep.
because if you look at watch the videos on the website,
Sure.
they look pretty livable, I guess.
Yeah, no, they do. They're like yurts. Yurts are pretty livable.
Yeah.
Number 6, excuse me. site will have cabins which are indicated to have 2 bedrooms. In my mind, that would suggest, and I know some families have children, so that's beside it, but suggest that 2 couples could rent these units. Not all of the units will be family members traveling in one vehicle, as they're parking for 2 vehicles on the site. And have those extra vehicles been added into the trip analysis? So I don't know if the traffic impact study's got a factor for that or not. It's been put in.
So the short answer is, I guess, no, that we don't specifically have a 2-unit, cabins in the traffic study that I know of. But there's going to be plenty of space, for extra parking because, we are planning on, visitors being allowed into the site. And so the larger cabins, the 5 larger cabins, will be near the clubhouse, and, that will have quite a bit of parking around it. And so there'll be plenty of, parking for extra vehicles within the cabin areas, just kind of naturally to the site.
So can you add a note or something on the plan, John, that would suggest that if you're gonna show the typical, that there's 1 parking space for the cabin, and that additional vehicle parking will be available at the main parking lot, or something to that effect?
Yep.
Our campers who come in, are they limited to 1 vehicle? Like, that's your paradigm, right? 1 vehicle per campsite?
So
That's what I'm asking.
the rules, the state rules, we can't just say that you have to have at least 1 space per site.
Yeah.
And so, I believe that but the traffic generation for a campground, nationally, the manual on traffic estimates basically will study different types of campgrounds, put an average number together of the trips, in and out. And that will take into account staff, visitors, multiple, cars per site, or whatever the use is. So those numbers are what are put into a traffic study. And then those are formulated into local studies by DOT and other traffic engineers.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it from a different point of view, because I think I've said from the start, one of my concerns is emergency access and egress. And so I'm just curious if you have, I mean, I've been to Acres Wildlife with Matt, actually. On certain figured holidays, you could have 5 or 6 cars per site, they're just lined up along the side of the road there. And that really scares me in terms of access and egress if you have,
Acres of Wildlife, just from what I remember from camping, Acres of Wildlife, I think they allow 1 vehicle on site, and they have a parking lot for everyone else, and they have to park in the parking lot. That doesn't happen.
it gets crazy sometimes.
It doesn't happen, but
So I'm just curious how, I was just curious if you're going to monitor and restrict parking, in the access and egress areas.
And some of that may be answered in a site walk. If you look at you got a staked out parking area here, but there's no trees, and you could park another 5 cars right beside that one.
Well, so I think what we'll do is we'll try to describe a plan of attack on that. What the campground will provide for parking, where that parking will be on the plan, and then I think just some sort of an enforcement plan.
It's not something.
Not that the town would enforce, but that they could, what their plan is if all of a sudden there's 10 cars along Road A and and nobody can get by.
The problem is that people don't park cars at beach people. You know, they're like, I got as far as I wanna get, open the door and walk away, you know, and rather than thoughtfully, how do I get my car off the road so as not to be in it, you know, people don't do that. You gotta make it convenient.
Well, and I think anywhere, is just, letting people know the rules and having people that go around and suggest those rules be followed.
Like in Trailer Park Boys, the guy with the cart, exactly, yeah.
I've never actually seen that.
Which
but,
one?
But yeah, you gotta have,
They do.
you know,
There's usually a monitor that does do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only
Oh,
concern I think that we really have is fire equipment.
Right.
yes,
And people closing in the roads.
Yeah, that's, I'm gonna be harping on that the whole time until we're done. Excellent, okay, so I think that was 6.
Number 7, the applicant is proposing to reconstruct Marston Road and finish it with a compacted aggregate base coat. My concern is that even if this material is a finish during dry summer spells, it will get dusty. There are several homes along the road. The applicant may want to develop a plan for the board that assures it will be moistened during these dry periods to control the dust, or propose some type of paving or liquefied asphalt finishing on the road. I know it's a dirt road, now, but you don't have the traffic that you're gonna have going down there, again, on a Friday evening with people coming in, or Saturday morning, if we have a dry spell. I ran into a situation a long time ago, and I learned the hard way myself, where we permitted a concrete batch plant in an industrial zone, and right across the street were a bunch of residential uses. No thought that during concrete batch plants, which were starting at 5 o'clock in the morning, we're also going to emit dust. And those houses got really bad. And who heard it all the time down at City Hall? Me. So, I think we need to think about how do you control that? Or you'll have people in select board meetings in the middle of the summer complaining that, all these motorhomes coming up and down there, they're getting just hammered with dust. So just during really dry spell periods, is there, gonna be a truck on site that you can go out and just kind of?
And the answer is,
so yes, the applicant has already purchased a fire truck and can easily retrofit the back of it with perforated PVC pipe to administer water up and down, their roads plus the town-owned Marston Road, if that's needed, when that's needed. And Lee, I don't know if you're aware that there has been quite a bit of discussion on Marston Road, that Marston Road is actually a town road.
Right.
That the applicant has been allowed thus far to improve it to a certain extent.
Okay.
So there is a little bit of overlap there, but the applicant is obviously willing and ready to control dust along Marston Road
Are
because
they willing
they
and
are
ready
the
to put it in
impact.
writing that they're gonna, that's, I guess that's a little more.
Yeah.
And I have 3
Yeah.
people that live on the road, Matt Blunt, Chad Flint, and Dean Flint, have all signed a piece of paper that said they're okay with us, they're gonna work with us. If they have any questions, concerns, they're gonna call us, we're gonna take care of it. If we don't take care of it, we're gonna hold.
Could we have a copy of that?
Absolutely.
Great. Because the flip side of dust is mud.
Right.
And did you guys ever work out an agreement on the road?
yeah.
I thought you guys had it all straightened out.
Just a couple months ago.
I don't recall that ever.
No, we were supposed to get bonded,
Yeah.
and we didn't have a good enough contract with the selectmen to get bonded. And we've kinda just tabled that for right now. We'll go back to that once we get.
Because my concern.
If these guys have done that, you guys can do that.
Yeah.
And there's not much difference between what we asked here and what we're asking you guys.
The insurance company would not give us the bond.
You better I'll give you an address on these people here then, maybe you ought to talk to these people.
But there was an agreement, I
Yeah, there was,
remember
it
seeing
was a good agreement too, all we needed was.
But it wasn't signed, or it
we-
wasn't effectuated because
we-
part of it wasn't
Yeah.
done? Okay.
Is that on paper too, like we
Yeah.
can email copy of that or something?
Yeah, we never
got it.
I don't,
We gave that to
I don't
you
have
before.
that file. Do we have it?
Yeah, I think you got it, definition on that.
You.
And the dust issue.
I don't remember seeing it, so.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it either. Yeah.
Can we get it again?
The dust issue is a big deal. Okay, you know, I don't live too far from Maker's Wildlife, you go out there
Yeah.
in the summertime and look at the trees,
Yeah.
they're completely dusted.
Yeah.
But if you had a wet summer, mud can be equally, if not more, you know. I mean,
More fun.
so that's why I was asking about an agreement on a road, because fixing mud is a more active than just sprinkling water. And I just like to have that, I'd like to know where that is, that's all.
So are you looking more of a general year-round maintenance agreement on the road, or not? Just kind of like if they overwater and produce mud?
Well, you know, we could have a rainy June. You know, we could have,
3
you
inches
know,
of rain.
and
4 inches.
you could have an
Right.
impassable road.
Right, okay.
And like, who fixes that and how often?
Right.
You know, and
No, I
who's
think
gonna
yes.
complain to the selectmen,
Yeah.
and who's gonna complain to the camp, and just have it all sorted is all I'm asking.
In
I
our
don't care
agreement,
how it's sorted.
I think the road commissioner and you, I think, was the ones that was gonna talk.
Yeah.
And we kind of, so, it would be up to the road commissioner on, he goes and says it's too muddy, they gotta fix it.
Yeah,
He go there and say,
I just wanna see it,
yeah, it
You know,
was in
so
that,
that-
it was in that.
so we don't argue then, we argue now.
But in lieu of a road commissioner, cause do we really even have a road commissioner at the moment, or?
Do we?
Well, I'm just saying, do, I mean, do we have?
Well, it's, if something happens, so we don't have a road commissioner, he comes to the chairman of the board of selectmen.
Okay.
That's where he comes.
And but we'll have a signed agreement or something on paper.
Yeah.
Okay. That can be
Because they get
added.
bonded, we're good.
Yeah, I'll just kind of be blunt.
Okay, so if you get the bond, then,
If they get the bond, we're good.
okay.
Yeah, I'll just be blunt, like, I highly doubt we'd agree to a conditional use permit out.
You want the address?
I'll get that for you after the meeting.
But I highly doubt we would agree to any conditional use permit without the existence of that agreement in place. So, just put it out there, I mean, so, before we do any vote on this, we're gonna wanna confirm that that's done.
Number 8, yes. So the plan to me is somewhat unclear, that the, area, some of the plan has 2 parallel heavy lines. They're not well noted, but it is noted on there, but I assume that signifies the 75-foot setback from the resource is noted on the plan. Second line is not noted anywhere. My assumption is that it's the 100-foot setback, but it's not noted, on the plan set, and I might suggest that we either, just eliminating that line in order to clean the plan set up. And I think there's some general stuff I need to talk with John about, cleaning the plans up to be a little more legible, but nothing of a major consequence. That happened to be a big one. I'm looking at it, scratching my head going, what's this signify?
DEP has told us we have 100% setback from the wall.
That's all it is. When we started, it was 75, then it turned into 100, and we weren't really sure. So anyway, the short answer is we will keep the 100 on there and get rid of the 75.
Perfect. Works for me.
Good answer.
Sheet C1.2 shows 2 proposed wells within 200 feet of each other. Is this by design, or does the plan need to be corrected? I was not clear on that, so I questioned it.
So it's a mix of existing and proposed conditions. There's a existing well, just outside of the Marston house. I say that in quotations. That well is going to be too close to a number of things, including septic systems and other wells, to be used as a drinking water supply. So that well will be,
Capped.
well, the applicant would like to use it for maintenance and irrigation of farm, but it will not have any services today. Buildings.
Note that on the.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, to be clear. Sheets, and you folks know more about this than I do, I guess, at this point, but sheets 2.0 through 2.2 show a series of restoration areas on the plan. I found no documentation as to what the restoration is about or what exactly is being done for restoration. if trees are being planted, then the plan should include details on how plantings will be accomplished. There is also no plan or narrative to indicate the timing of this restoration. Seems to me that a third-party inspector may be required to oversee the restoration plan and any additional construction needed on the site.
So we have, submitted a detailed restoration plan to the DEP upon their request. And they are overseeing that as we speak. So we can certainly have the results of that in our.
I get a copy of that. It helps. All set?
Yes, sir.
Okay, number 11, has the fire chief reviewed the plans, or has been on site yet, comment on the camp roads for the width and tree height in order to get adequate equipment on the site during emergency situations. I only raised that because I worked on a small subdivision, a very narrow road, in another community, and that became an issue, fire equipment, because of the height of the equipment, making sure that the base of the hardwood trees especially, is such that there's a clear path for the equipment to get down through there, so, okay.
So, we are not aware that the fire chief has reviewed any plans so far, but, he has been invited to the site more than once. He hasn't made it out there yet, but, the applicant is promises to keep reaching out to us.
Right. It's on my end, I get that.
Oh, it's on your end, okay.
So we can push that. Yeah, if we need to, it's on my end, we'll look at it.
So, the plan is to have the fire chief out there.
As soon as we get some good weather, something like that, I'll get everything hashed out with what I wanted to look at. I didn't want to bring it out there
Yeah.
and look at half of it, excuse me.
Understood.
Now that we have everything, I'll get it out there.
Okay. Front page of the plan set needs to be corrected to reflect the town of Baldwin, not the town of Wyndham.
Yeah, I can't believe we've had that out there for so long, and, it has, you know, so, yeah, right on the front. Town of Baldwin Planning Board, Cape School Road,
I keep
Wyndham.
standing in the window, nothing happens.
So, we apologize for that.
So, lastly, I just make a general statement saying, in general, I believe that a number of things that need to be cleaned up on the plans, and would be happy to discuss them with the applicant's engineer so that the planning board does not have to get bogged down on it. A lot of it is just, again, clean up on the plans, like the setback issue, from the resource, and, just, I think there's some, in my mind, the plans could be easier to read.
I think we just asked that, and I'm okay with that, I think the only thing I'd ask is that you make a list of those, and just give us a list of the
Sure.
things that were cleaned up, so, because there is a bit of history on some things, and what may appear to be a cleanup to you is actually a big deal to us, so just make sure we just keep a list, kind of a running list of what changes are made.
Sure.
And I don't mean, super insignificant changes.
Understood.
But like deleting the 75 foot, like that would be something we'd wanna know, because
Yeah.
that is a kind of historical conversation we've been having. So I remember why there's two lines, so, if you could do that, I have no problem, I don't think the board has any problem with you working directly, together to get it done.
That would be great, I appreciate that. I can make sure that, you know, with myself as an intermediary, that, working with the applicant, we'll be able to make sure we get all this stuff in writing, so that we're all on the same page. Stormwater and DOT, DEP, DOT, I can certainly review that stuff, I'm capable of reviewing that stuff, Brian. Clearly am relying on the DOT and DEP to handle that permitting process. I would like to know who the contacts are on both of those permits, so that I can, at least touch base with those folks. Talk with them, and keep up to date with them.
Stupid question, but the DOT has no interest in even talking to them, or talking to anybody about the town roads. I mean, it's just, we're talking 113.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, what they'll do is, I'm assuming there's gonna be a scoping meeting at some point.
Yeah.
DOT will have what they call a scoping meeting, and the applicant, possibly myself, if invited, I'm sure I can be, would be at that meeting to just discuss what issues may exist and, if the DOT has any concerns with alignments or anything with 113 and the intersection going up.
Where would that take place?
I would assume, it would take place at the Scarborough office for the DOT.
Yeah, if that does happen, there is going to be notified, so we can choose or not choose to be there.
Maybe.
Is that a public meeting, or is that?
Oh, sure, of course, it's a public meeting.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I don't think, I don't know. I still have this vision of like 50 RVs backed up on the Senator Black Road trying to get out, onto 113. And I don't know how to get that out of my head. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, I hear you. Of course, he hopes that's the case. But, a lot of it is just that people are on their own time, and it's not like they're gonna all be there at one time lined up. They're gonna be spread out, but we'll find that out. We'll know what their trip generation information suggests and what the DOT is concerned about with that.
My concern, similar but different from David's, is the 100 campers lined up trying to get out when there's a fire.
Yeah, well, I mean,
The fire is the thing that scares the Jesus out of me.
Let's hope that never happens.
Well,
But I hear you.
I've seen forest fire on that land.
Sure.
I don't know when it was, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, that was,
Whatever, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when nobody was there, who might have been smoking cigarettes or other things, and, So, I mean, it's like somebody says, all I've got that's mine is in this vehicle, and let me get out of here, and then you've got chaos.
Absolutely.
Fire, and so I'd love to be reassured somehow that fire apparatus will be able to get in.
Okay.
I don't know how it's done. I don't know how to reassure me on that.
well, I think you have an evacuation plan.
I was gonna say, development of a plan.
And you were gonna, you talked about an evaluation plan.
But there
I'm
has,
working that out with the fire chief.
right.
Yep.
Because,
But can we just write a note that?
well, yeah, don't worry, that's one of the top priorities for me.
Well, no, I guess my point is, so that
Oh,
he's
he knows,
prepared
no,
for that time.
he knows very well.
Yeah. So that's one of the things you're gonna talk to Jason about, I guess.
So I won't go verbatim for the rest of it. The second part of my memo is process. And really, the process comes down to, for example, going through all of these issues tonight. Once the applicant revises the information to address these issues, I look at what's called completeness. And completeness, of course, is have they submitted the information that the ordinance requires them to submit? Your ordinance is a little different because there's an open-ended statement in it. It kind of says whatever other information you may want, which a lot of ordinances don't do. But once we get to a point of at least saying, and this is where it gets a little, I remind all of the boards that I work with of this. It's one thing to say that they have submitted the information and the application is complete, but then the debate begins as to whether or not it's adequate or that you need additional information beyond that. But if they've submitted the information that's required or requested of them through the submission, then you can find the application complete. We're not there tonight. I think we need to have the plans revised to address a lot of these issues. But then you can find it complete. Then you can talk about is the information adequate or do they need to provide additional information. That's also when you want to set your public hearing and your site walk, which I'm assuming you'd want to do the site walk before you have the public hearing so that you're more knowledgeable on the property, so that when the public comes in and says, this is what's going on, you can say, I remember seeing that, or no, that's not the case, that's not what I remember seeing out there, just to get you more knowledgeable on the property.
so we have to get rid of the snow.
Yes, I know.
And you also suggested that you guys stake out where things are.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
a campground is a little different, but, you know, I'm more concerned about the parking area out front, the main building, and, you know, like generally the tenting area versus the RVs, but, you know, to stake out every site or anything would be, you know, over the top for them to have to comply with that.
I would agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And what we've done so far is we've said we've received the application.
Yes.
And have not deemed it complete.
Yep,
Perfectly.
perfectly fine.
Have been clear about that. And I think we're really this is the information we need to see
Correct.
to call it complete. So similar, I mean, I think it's similar.
Yep, nope, you're on the right page. I just like to always, it's an exercise for all boards, but I like to make sure that they understand that, because, you know, if we get to a point where there's a legal challenge from either the applicant or from any of the abutters, you wanna make sure that you've gone through the proper process.
Excellent. So let's see, the grade, so the applicant, this last bold on the page on 5, the applicant
Yes.
calculation, remove or grade more than 2 acres within 5 years. What's that about?
Well, your ordinance, Article 11, Section 11.1.b says that, if they remove or grade more than 2 acres within a 5-year period, that they need approval from this board, so.
They've already done it.
If they've done it, then we wanna include that as part of the process for approval, that's all. It's just a perfunctory, but I wanna make sure that we include it.
Are you guys doing any more of that? Like, as part of the project, are you going to?
Oh, yeah, there'll be, further grading, because a lot of the sites are wooded now, and it needs to be cleared for the, you know, the tenting areas, things like that, so there'll definitely be, grading and earth moving for all,
So you'll put some,
disturbance of more than 2
Yeah.
acres.
you'll put some information in there that will be consistent with the site plan standards?
Yes,
Okay.
yep. Perfect. Yeah, we'll say that in the general note, that we'll say that it has to meet
Article 11.
Article 11.
Yeah.
And the conditional use.
Yeah, and I mean, most of the stuff, you know, just a quick look, 11.3 site plan content, everything that they're putting on their plans is what's in your site, what they're doing is a site plan.
Right.
So, it's just another perfunctory thing to make sure that when they get their approval as part of the findings of fact, we'll suggest that they also are, consistent with the site plan review process.
So, anything else on your front?
No, sir, I'm good.
So when we were with Norm and going through the application, how far did we get through it? You remember?
We got through it,
We got through the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
didn't we?
Yes, I have all those.
And I was just looking through my notes, and we have pretty much, we covered with you, I think we pretty much covered, haven't we? The stuff we covered when we.
Yeah, so I think between, and I hate to keep throwing different people at you at different meetings, but I think between myself and Jeff Amos and Gary, that, we have, a pretty good history of the questions and concerns and, requests for additional information. We'll take that information, add it to what Lee J has in the memo, and, I will get with Lee J hopefully soon here and talk about the detail on the plans because, you know, we have everything we need to make the plans, and I wanna make sure that we're addressing whatever Lee J has concerns about readability and clarity and things like that, so, it's our intention to kind of regroup on all the notes that we've taken, bring in Lee J's questions and concerns and whatever you guys, bring up additionally tonight, and kind of get a final set of plans and,
I just have this here as a reminder.
yeah. And updated
This is
application
mostly their-
information to
their
you
plan.
so that we can, obviously, it's in our interest to have you guys tell us that the application is complete. We would love to get to that point, so.
Sure, of course, I would too.
So, and I guess just for clarity, once we're found complete, I know you have a provision about site walks. Is it more than 3 inches of snow or something like that?
Well, I mean, you know, be serious, you can't have a sidewalk walk in these conditions, and,
Right.
you know, I mean, you know, come on.
But I know in some towns, there's a time frame that begins.
To have a public hearing, I don't think there's a requirement for a sidewalk, is there?
Right, but I guess,
Yeah.
We can find that we have to have them.
Understood, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that there's some flexibility that could be built into that, because.
I just wanna be on the same page that hopefully we don't get into a point where, it's a 60-day time frame and the snow doesn't melt within 60 days and we lose our completeness because of some, time frame that wasn't discussed.
Well, I think the problem here, John, may be that what all of us want is to have people feel comfortable that this was looked at properly and completely, and we've all had our chance to talk about it, and we all feel comfortable going forward. You know, your neighbors, everybody else in town had a chance to look at it before the public hearing, even if they don't come, you know, that they had that chance. That is what's important.
Absolutely.
You know, and so it's not a matter of days or of inches of snow, it's like, can you get around the site? Can you pound the stakes in with little flags on top? You know, I mean, that's really, we're just talking about common sense.
Right, the only reason I bring it up is I just don't want some technicality to be, for any of us to miss a technicality on a timeline or a deadline that's going to set us back even further, or that would be brought up in an appeal process or something like
So I
that.
think more succinctly, the question is, if we declare the application complete and we have a deadline to do a public hearing, but we want to do a sidewalk first,
Well,
we had that before.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, there's two ways to do it, and certainly weather is a factor right now. You could set a date for a site walk, but not set a date for a public hearing. And then after the site walk, you could then say, you know, hopefully we're getting into March, you know, that, you know, you can set a date for a site walk subsequent to your, site walk, to your, for that public hearing date. So they don't have to be set at the same time. The other thing just, you know, really quick, is that you do have in the site plan part of your ordinance, it says within 45 days of the date in which the site plan application first appears on the planning board agenda, the planning board shall act to approve the conditions or disapprove the site plan application submitted or amend. The time limit for review may be extended by mutual agreement between the planning board and the applicant during the 45-day period. The planning board may schedule an on-site visit. So as long as you guys are still talking and everybody says, yeah, you know, we agree, let's extend this because of the weather or whatever, you're fine.
Yeah, that's generally what's happened.
Yeah, we're going to have to extend more.
Really?
Oh,
Oh, you can extend as many times as you want.
yeah, it's only happened more.
Yeah.
Maybe before you.
Yeah, it is before. That's what it, that's what
Yeah, no, it is.
Yes.
I have a couple questions, but,
So what about the application? About the project?
one of them, which I should have brought up earlier, and we may have talked about it, I just wanna mention it again, so that maybe you guys can add it into the application. Is there hours? Is there a certain time that the visitors will have to leave, or you're saying that they're gonna have to leave? Obviously, things happen, but I know most campgrounds I've been to, visitors allowed from this time to this time in the day.
Right, and we put a little bit of language in the application about that.
Okay.
But we'll
Can we make that clear?
make sure that it's,
Are you guys,
clear.
since we had discussions earlier about, off-season things, are you guys interested, willing to put any language in there? So that says, we will or we won't, or?
Yeah, so there's no activity between X and Y,
It's already in there.
zero.
So basically, that's already an application, yes.
No, not basically, expressly.
Alright, do you guys, I mean, I guess that's a good topic of discussion for you guys on any updated thing that if you were to put it that way, or if you wanna specifically say that you're gonna do things or not gonna do things.
Adding,
I just don't want it to become an issue later on.
adding winter activities substantially increases the amount of issues.
Yeah, I agree, I guess my point is I don't wanna have it become a,
No, it's just, it's not a point, cause it's done, like, it's
Okay.
done now.
We're closing the doors, and we're not gonna use that.
okay.
So, you gonna do, snowmobiles next year?
Not in the winter.
Not if he's under a condition of approval, he can't do it.
Are you talking about skimming or snowmobile?
I'm just talking about, I'm curious about mass gatherings or whatever you wanna call them, and loud machinery and racing around and noise and stuff.
We have nothing planned, no. But if we do, we'll have to talk with you guys and make a plan and get it approved.
So let's think about that and put some verbiage in this. Procedural verbiage, yes.
Any activities can be done within the ordinance.
This is not within the ordinance, this is within your conditional use permit. We don't have an ordinance about this.
I will make sure I structure something for your conditions of approval that will require him to come before you for, any kind of, provide, a written document
Yep.
to you as to how he's going to, deal with a particular issue. So if they do have a snowmobile event or an ATV event that's gonna bring outside people, are they bringing in additional toilet facilities? What time at night is the equipment going to have to be shut down? They'll have to put together a plan. I will make sure that's in the conditions of approval.
I think we will find at the public hearing
Mm-hmm.
that there will be people who are objecting. There were snowmobile events,
Mm-hmm.
that went from 10 to 2 or 4 or something like that. 3 o'clock, 10 to 3, during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And, people objected to that. We will find them objecting at the public hearing.
Sure.
Well, why did they object?
Noise,
Oh,
horrendous noise. I was told people with their doors and windows closed couldn't hear their spouse talking to them in the same room, that sort of thing. That's what I was told. So we need to address this somehow, because it's better to address it before they get up in public hearing.
Sure.
Yeah, it would both be of the nature of a mass gathering, and it would also be a noise issue. I mean, I assume that there'll be noise restrictions at the boundary of the property. I mean, they can't have a concert. No, if it exceeds a certain noise level.
We don't have it.
So,
No, we have a noise, there'll be noise conditions.
Yeah.
I mean, there's basic conditions.
are we, question to the selectmen, are we getting to a point where we have to buy a dB meter for,
We'll have to have somebody come do it. I've done a little research on the system, but I got an example. I got 2 nephews who live across the field from me, and I got a couple neighbors that come down. They ride their snowmobiles in the field, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They're not tired from 10 to 3, they're tired from 8 o'clock until 6 o'clock at night.
yeah,
But I think we gotta be careful. I think the decibel deal is better, because if you're not, you're gonna restrict them little boys from being able to, if you come out with the town-wide ordinance.
yeah, we're not talking an ordinance.
Yeah, this is commercial, so
Yeah.
this is a commercial establishment, so if they're bringing people to their facility for a gathering activity, they can have special rules placed on them, because, you know, this campground is not meant to be a concert venue, but they could have a concert there under the right circumstances.
They
They
have
could
concerts
have,
all the time at campground.
right, but Acres of Wildlife is so far in there, you don't get the blowback and the sound. Whereas these guys, if they did it along the bottom
Yeah, I
pond,
just say, but.
you know, they got neighbors. Yeah, no, I know, I'm just, these are the things, and this is exactly what Joe's talking about. It's like, we just have to figure out how they can do it, because I don't think we want to say no to everything. How you can do it in a way that is efficient for you, seeking approval and making sure you're doing it without bothering your neighbors, more than is legally allowed. And not have a constant debate about whether you can or can't do it. I mean, there should be a process to something that's out of the ordinary. Like a concert would be out of the ordinary. What do you call it when you drive the snowmobiles on the grass? And grass drag. You're gonna have grass drag. You're gonna have, you know, but if you are, you would need to come, because that would be something that's outside the normal activity. Horse and buggy races up the hill, I don't know. You could have, what do you call those little carts that go down the hill, the little kids have them?
Yeah.
Soapbox. This would be an awesome place for a soapbox derby in your hill. But to do that, you should have to come here, and so we should have a procedure for special events.
Yeah, we don't have any procedure for that sort of thing, because we don't want to open up the conditional use permit just so they can have an event.
Yeah.
But, so we gotta figure that one out. I don't know how to do it.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yep, I'm working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's that, I don't think it's that hard.
I'd like to know your thoughts on it, that's all.
Yep, no, I'm,
And it may be
it's
the
a very
spring
important
when they
issue,
go.
I hear it, so.
Oh, yeah, I don't really want to.
I mean, I would totally assume that you guys are gonna have, people there singing and entertaining your guests, I guess you'd say.
Strolling troubadours.
What's that?
Strolling troubadours.
Yes, yeah, so,
I was thinking mariachi.
yeah, I mean, I guess that would, you know, anything you could add that you say, okay, this is where it's gonna take place, and it's gonna be on the further side of the campground, or anything to that effect. If you know where you're gonna be having that stuff going on, maybe add that to the thing. I mean, as far as decibel levels and stuff, I don't know, you know, I mean, obviously, we don't know.
Well, I'll need to do a little research, but one of the things I'm thinking of is they're gonna need a site permit from DEP. There are some dB levels, in there, so we can cite it back to,
Okay.
you know.
And they're almost all at the
Compliance.
property line.
Yeah,
The property
yeah.
line.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you cite it correctly, it's not a huge deal. If you cite it incorrectly, it's not good.
So, all that discussion, I guess, kind of depends on the, and I don't wanna get into one discussion tonight, but the, what you brought up first is, okay, you own 1,300 acres of land, 1,100 acres of land, and this is only taking up a certain amount of that land.
No, it's taking up the whole way.
Well, that's
No, I
the
mean,
thing.
yeah,
It's-
that's
so,
what we're
so are
saying.
the decibel levels at the 1,300 acre limits, or is it at the campground limits, or, you know, that's what
It
we
would be at the
would
13,
work
it would be
to.
at the piece of property, the edge of the piece of property. Now, you have a problem. You have a public road running through the middle of that property, so it's at the edge of the public road. But we're looking at this as, and unless the board votes against us, you know, we're looking at this as the entire thing that he owns from.
Well, map 7, lot 2.
Not 22.
Not
Yeah, exactly.
other.
Oh, I didn't think he owned anything else, but yeah, map 7, lot 2.
Yeah, it's just the lot that is on the permit, right?
There's different parcels. Will we go back to this thing, or are we going back to? It's the piece of property.
Are they all under the same ownership? Yeah. So it would be the property under the property, multiple parcels under the same ownership as blah, blah, blah.
All contiguous lots?
Wouldn't this just be the entirety of map 7, lot 22?
Which is how many acres? Yeah,
Yes, 700.
So then there's a second parcel that's remaining there.
That hasn't, when was that parcel out?
No, it added on.
Add on, okay.
Yeah.
He started buying property in 2015, bought multiple lots
Okay.
around there.
So it would be one lot, yeah. So that lot,
Yeah, if they're, contiguous to each other and under the same exact deed, then they can be considered as one lot.
but they're not under the same deed, I don't think, are they?
No, but do they have the same exact corporate name or personal name on them?
I believe so, yeah.
So they would be, for other purposes, they can be considered as the same parcel. If one was John D. Doe and one was John Doe, then they're separate. But if they're both John D. Doe, then they're looked at as one parcel.
We're just looking at it as that one lot, not as the ones that are contiguous. There's some question whether or not we as the board can clump together contiguous lots by the same owners. A recent case law in law court that said that you may not be able to do that. So I gotta just avoid that principle and just look at the 700 change acre lot. Not the one that may be out to the left or the right.
Okay.
Cause that's what David Laurie told us.
The problem down in Scarborough. That's what
Yeah, with the Scarborough issue, taxes, if they put them together, they got taxed worse, or it's been, taking issue, and so, so we're looking at it as that 700 plus acre lot. And understand, like, there may be a whole bunch of forest that nothing happens in. But if something happens, you have to come back, that's all.
Correct.
And that's the edge of the accessory uses too, so I think we talked about the fact that I'm gonna want signs at the edge of your property saying, this is the edge of the property for the purpose of, and it may be shorter than what is the actual edge, you may wanna condense it even more, but somewhere between the developed area and the lot line, I'm gonna ask there to be signs saying, don't go any further, this is no longer property that is
Not part of nature's wilderness.
part of nature's wilderness.
So if, just for clarity, if 5 years down the road, he sells a 3 acre lot out of the 700 acres, and somebody puts an apple cider manufacturing and selling barn in there, then that would have to come under this conditional use permit.
If he sold a parcel of property to a third party, and it's not in the development area, I would think it would be a separate use.
Okay.
If it's in the development area, yeah, it's part of.
So we need to find a development area that's inside of the 700 acres on top of each other, right? Is that what we're, are we defining an area for the campground use within the 700 acres as part of this application?
I think it just is.
You're saying just wherever there's development.
Yeah,
It fell off
right,
at the
but-
campground.
I thought once we grant a conditional use permit on a piece of land, then any further conditional use permit wanted on that piece of land opens up the primary conditional use permit.
Correct, and expansions are gonna require him to come back to you.
But
But
if
he's
you start
adding-
a separate business,
But he's adding an element that is being sold.
Any
So-
expansion.
So he's
and
sold.
that's, if you sell it, then it's an expansion if that person comes for
Well,
additional
no,
use
if he
permit.
sells it to somebody else and someone else wants to do some other use on a separate parcel, then if it's a permitted use, it's a permitted use. If it's a conditional use, then they need to come back to the board.
But totally as a separate permit.
Correct.
Well, it's never gonna be separate, because once this happens, all the land has a certain character to it, and so if the cider business wants to go in right here, we have to take into consideration the fact that all this is already here. So it's never separate completely, I mean, it's, and
Right,
that's
but
been
if
our,
there's some sort of condition that, and I don't wanna get too rambunctious about it, but if we put it in a condition that they're not gonna manufacture apple cider on the campground, then does that preclude them from selling a 3-acre lot down the road to somebody that wants to develop
Come
an
to us
apple
and talk
cider?
about it.
I have no idea.
So if you're using a cider mill or whatever, for
Yeah, I don't know
example,
why
but is
you
there a
feel
reason
that.
why, is there something more specifically that you're asking, or?
No, I just
Okay,
don't
okay.
wanna tie them down if we don't have to. I'm just trying to get it clear in my head as to what.
But you are
What-
tying it down, you are tying the property down to a certain extent. And if you said, well, we don't wanna have any of this forested land as part of this campground, well, there goes your accessory uses, because you have no place to ride ATVs, and you have no place to, so that impacts how we view the application.
Okay.
And, you know, we started with, from day 2, the biggest concern, you weren't here, but
Yeah.
the biggest concern is that somebody got the smart idea of, well, we have this structure, let's start selling off the individual campground spaces and sell those as if they were,
Felt like a condo or something.
as a subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
And, or even selling 2 of the best ones up here to some rich person, you know? That's not gonna be okay.
Right. No, I understand.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the one side of the continuum, and we were concerned about this other. And, you know, something may happen in between. What that means, we'll have to find out when it happens, because if it's over here and doing the condominiums, it's not gonna happen. If it's over here with, you know, a maple sugar place, you know, shack, carved out 2 acres on the edge, I don't think any of us would be concerned about that, but until it's presented, I can't tell you what the answer is. I think that's fair, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah. But we're looking at the 700 acres, and if this is changed, you know, as if, you know, trying to manipulate this to make it smaller, as a lot, that would concern me as well. I think that would be avoiding the intent of the act, for the ordinance.
it's always been my understanding that once you put a piece of property under conditional use permit, that piece of property is under the conditional use permit. And any change on that piece of property means an opening up of the conditional use permit.
We may need to get a lawyer's.
However, we've never considered a 700 acre, you know, conditional use permit before, since I've been on the board. And that may influence how we look at it, as you're talking about a continuum.
Right. I guess I would analogize it to the Dodge Oil situation. So Dodge Oil is on a piece of property, and they got a conditional use permit for one part of that parcel. We didn't reopen the entirety of the Dodge Oil. We just looked at the front of that parcel as a different use. They were connected. They were connected in our consideration, but we didn't reopen Dodge Oil to look at the front. I guess that's my thought.
And we didn't reopen the front of Dodge Oil because we said, you know, that's there, it's working, we don't need to
Right,
touch it.
and the whole point was they were supposed to be separate.
Yeah.
That was kind of the premise of the whole thing. So depending on whether this is interrelated, I mean, if there's suddenly, you know, a ancillary business to this, I think that would be more concerning than something totally separate or at least compartmentalized. So Lee, I'll send you a copy of this draft thing that I.
Okay, that would be perfect.
the way I conceptualized it is you had this primary use of campground,
Mhm.
and you had a series of restrictions and findings of fact and restrictions, and then you had ancillary uses or
Sure.
secondary uses,
Yep.
accessory uses. And then there was a series of those under our ordinance and listing all those and what the restrictions are for those. You're taking it one step further and saying how the applicant has told us they'll satisfy those.
I'll send you what I've already kind of framed it out, I'll send you what I've got this
Perfect.
now, so you can see that.
How we doing on money, on what, like, is there a budget for you, or I don't know?
Yeah, there is.
Yes.
Okay,
There's already been one bill paid already.
okay, we doing okay on budget? I'm not asking you how much you
No,
get.
you're fine.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Can you just let us know in terms of like 25, 50, 75, 100%, just as we go? Like if,
I'll have Debbie watch.
yeah, if we have these major, you know, if we're at 50%, it would just be helpful to know so we can, because I believe you're paying for it, right? So, just, and then, so what should we expect next?
Doesn't have, what do you think the timeline is for getting all these changes and getting us?
We would love to achieve that within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, of getting you an updated package, with narrative and plan information.
How,
was gonna say,
and we have you're doing some stuff with him as well. So-
Yes, we'll be in communication, and then he can send me a set of the plan set actually before you get it, so that I can make sure things are going the way they need to.
Okay.
So are we targeting March 14 or 28?
I think we should target 28, just because I think it's gonna take.
That would give
Yeah.
That
him a
would, yeah,
chance to look at our stuff,
That's what I was
and then
thinking.
us to respond to it.
you back to him,
Get back to you.
and then we get it back.
Yep.
We'll put you in on that day.
And maybe if need be, if you could get information to you in, within 2 weeks, if necessary, you could report, or you could talk to us
Yes.
next meeting.
Yes.
And then we'd have the final copy at the next meeting after that.
I could at least communicate by email, you don't want me to
Yeah, either way.
spend his money coming up here and.
No, I just, my thought is,
Yeah.
you know, something else might come up.
Well, sure.
It's his money.
So Joe, can you maintain communication with Lee to
Yep.
understand, keep an eye on what's going on, just, you know, like, kind of understand what's going on? I mean, he needs a contact person, I think it should be.
And I'm the
you.
contact
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
Yeah, no, we understand that, and everything that I communicate with Joe, with John and whatnot, Joe's on.
I got a copy.
That's, I like that.
Yeah.
Again,
Just so I'm clear, if I email him, should I include Joe as well?
yes,
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
It just keeps it out in the open, and we gotta work on trust.
yeah, well, it just makes it easier for everybody.
Yep.
In the life, it's easier. The 28th, so, we're going to assume that you're gonna be ready by the 28th. If you're not, that's not the end of the world, but, if you're not going to be ready, send me an email, so I know. 3 days before the meeting, we set the agenda. I'm gonna put you on the agenda, but if you're not gonna be here, that's the week. Let's see, no, it's March, so there's no school vacation. That's April.
I'll be in the
Yeah, March.
14th is the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 28th.
But April's the next vacation for school, is April.
28th.
Yeah.
Which is.
So you'll just Skype in, right?
Well, the third week.
I'll take minutes, but I can video conference.
Yeah.
So if you can't get here on the 28th, then we'll put you in for the next week, so you have your option as well.
Should be the 11th.
Which would be the 11th, April 11th.
But we'll be in contact with Lee and Joe.
But the goal would
So
be
we'll
like,
know.
the goal would be
The
like,
goal, yeah, our goal is to.
well, no, I know it goes tomorrow, but like,
Well, I gotta get it.
March 28th would be, probably a good chance that you'll have a final copy to present on.
Yes, absolutely.
Presumably, we should, a good chance of being able to do the sidewalk in April, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
I'm weary of snow blowing already.
Yeah, I know. This is the time of year where you get that like week of warm weather, and you go, oh, winter's over, and then week after that, you're on the roof and it's 10 degrees out. Yeah.
And then, we'll get new maps, we'll get the full 9 yards?
Yes.
Okay.
I won't even bring my old one, just clear some space.
No, I like it. Is there any way of getting electronic ones beforehand, or not? Should we even bother to do that?
Well,
That'd be great.
they can be left off here. Your paper copies can be here ahead.
An electronic one would be amazing though, in terms of
Right.
trying to add it to the minutes, because they're not gonna scan the whole thing.
Right.
Take
Yeah.
the full minute.
It's size prohibitive though, that's what we have with the other one, it's so big, it's hard.
You can't put it in a zip folder or something?
We'll look into it.
If you
I know
can.
we had linked it to Dropbox or something last time.
Yeah. If you can, that's great. I don't wanna require it because that's what we had problems with last time was getting all that. Just as long as you bring it with you. If you can send it beforehand, that's great, but that's not a condition precedent of going forward with the meeting, so we don't get that problem.
We just plan on having a full length review of everything on the 28th,
Yeah,
even if it's our first look at it.
yeah. And I guess on the 28th, if you can, the applicant be prepared to go through the major, say, 20 changes that you've changed from this last draft to this draft, that'd be helpful. Just identify the top 20 changes, because we may be getting it that day and at that meeting. But we will want to put the new one on the website, so eventually we're going to want, I mean, I can PDF it like in 10 minutes, but at work, but if you can get one, that's great. The map and including the maps, at least some version of the map.
Well, I mean, 90% of what we do is electronically generated, so we can print it.
Yeah, it's just getting it to
At a certain size.
yeah. All right, so made some progress. Anybody have any questions on the board?
No.
No?
Sounds good to me.
Lee, do you have any questions on the way out?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
You probably plan on being here on the 28th?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I will be here for you folks through the rest of this process.
excellent.
Thank you.
Selectmen, anything? Any more information on the, solar stuff?
We were talking about some stuff Tuesday night,
Okay,
we gotta come up with some rates and stuff like that.
okay.
And then we should get that stuff together, then we'll have to have a meeting with the townspeople and stuff, see if they wanna progress with this.
Okay.
Is that something you're gonna discuss at all the council, just so?
No, it was quick, quick.
No, I just didn't know if you would, hey, this is a possibility, or, but, or just keep it quiet until.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing.
Probably.
Possible, some of his people just got on a 2-year lease right now, so he's got some time and stuff.
Say that again.
He's met with Wes already.
One of the parcels that we use is already.
We adjourned.
They're leasing it, or someone else is leasing it?
I move we adjourn, but
Yeah,
So we-
so,
Well, sorry, we're just thinking, so our idea would be that we present the new package to you in a fashion that you could potentially vote on completeness on the 28th. Is that reasonable, or do you think that you would need to have another meeting to vote on?
it might be reasonable.
Well, right, I know you can't,
No, I suppose
Might not, who knows? Gotta see it.
And don't forget, again, completeness doesn't mean accuracy. It means the information's been submitted, but then we can still talk about.
right, it starts the clock.
But that means scheduling a public hearing.
Correct.
Yeah, so it
I
starts
think
the
that's
clock.
right, that's possible though, because we're getting closer to site walk, even to the site walk, and to wrap it up by then.
Yeah, I mean, you're as close to completeness as you've ever been.
No. Yeah.
So, I mean, we're hopeful, but that's it.
As long as it's a possibility, that's all we can.
Anything's possible. Alright, we good? Wes, do you have anything? I didn't ask you, I'm sorry. Alright, so, and to everybody, 3 days before the meeting, agenda items. So I send out an email, I don't usually speak to you guys, maybe I should.
Danielle already.
Yeah, Danielle gets it, yeah. Alright, cause I'm waiting to tell somebody they didn't get on the agenda.
we,
Second, yeah, second, in favor, yeah.